Okay, so our last lesson, patterns, extending tables. So we're going to be working with tables again, but this time we're going to be creating the sequence of numbers by using our knowledge of patterns. So and you're going to notice you're going to have two different rows where you may be creating a pattern for each if some information is given to you, but you're also going to be looking at the relationship between the two. Okay, so if we were to read, so in your math workbook, reteaching 8-6. So it says sometimes a rule tells us how to create a sequence of numbers. So rule A, it says start with 0. So even if I were to cover this information up, it's telling you with rule A, start with 0. So I'm going to start with 0, right? And then it says you're going to add 5. That is your rule. So your rule for A is to add 5 for each number. So from 0, we are going to add 5, right? So first term would be 5. We're going to add another 5. 5 plus 5 is 10. So right under here, the relationship would be 10. And then adding 5 again would be 15. So it's telling you, right, we're just adding 5 to each one. All right, now we have a pattern. I could go to a fourth term, right, and that would be 20 because I'm skip counting by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, adding 5. Okay, now with rule B, it's a little bit different. It says start with 0. So my start is going to, again, be the number 0. And it says add 15. Here's my rule. So adding 15 to 0. So 0 plus 15 would be 15. And then I'm going to add 15 to this 15. So 15 plus 15 is 30, right? And then I'm going to add 15 again to the 30. So 15 plus 30 is 45. Okay, now another way to look at this would be, now that I have my pattern created, is to look at the relationship between the two. So here again, you're going to be determining whether or not the pattern or the relationship is going to be addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. So it could be any one of these four operations. So if I'm going to look at this first, uh, the relationship between these two numbers, I'm not going to start at the 0, 0 because there's no information for me to go on here. So 5 and 15. To make 5 15, there's two things that I could do. One, I could add 10 to the 5 in order to make the 15. So I'm going to put it over here, plus 10, right? That is one possible answer. I'm going to try this over here to see if that holds true, to see if that is the rule, but right, for the relationship between rule A and rule B. So if I think the pattern is add 10 to this number for rule A, I should get the correct number. So if my pattern is plus 10, I'm going to come over here. 10, if my pattern is add 10, 10 plus 10 is 20. Uh-oh, this is a 30. So this is not the rule. Okay, so I'm going to cross that out. Now, what is another way I can make a smaller number become a bigger number? Well, we already figured out the addition. That's not going to work for this rule. I definitely don't want to subtract. I don't want to make this number any smaller because I need to make it bigger. So I'm looking at multiplication and division. And what we learned on Thursday is that in order to make a number larger, I would need to multiply this number by another number in order to make it bigger. So if I'm looking at the relationship between 5 and 15, I need to think to myself, 5 times what number is going to equal 15? Because that's where I need to get to. And if I know my math facts, 5 times 3 is 15. So I'm going to guess that my rule is going to be taking rule A, whatever that number is, if I multiply it by 3, I should get my rule B. So times 3, I'm going to try it over here. 10 times 3. Oh, there you go. 10 times 3 is 30. That seems to work. I'll try it again. 15 times 3. 15 times 3 is 45, right? So the relationship between rule A and rule B is A kind of write it down here. A is 3 times, oh wait, not A, I'm doing that backwards. B is 3 times larger than A, right? There you go. Okay, so you're going to practice this. So let me talk about problem number 1. We're going to practice another one of these. 2 and 3, we will, I want you guys for homework. I want you to do problem number 2, and I want you to do problem number 3 as homework. I'm going to have one more problem for you to do as homework on the next page. Okay? All right, so let's talk about rule A. So here they're giving you directions. It says, rule A, start with the number 20. So if I'm going to look here for rule A, it's telling me to start with 20. Okay, so 20 is my starting point. Now it says subtract 2. Okay, so 20 minus 2 would be 18. There you go. The rule would be to subtract 2 here. I'm going to keep subtracting 2. 18 minus 2 is 16. I'm going to continue the pattern. 16 minus 2 would be 14. So there's my missing number there, right? So it's giving me the information. Start with the number 20. There's my start. Subtract 2. Okay? All right. Now for rule B, it's to start with the number 40. So I'm imagining this number here is going to be 40, and it is. This rule would be to subtract 2 as well. Oh, well then that's easy enough. 40 minus 2 is 38. 38 minus 2 is 36. And 36 minus 2 is 34. Okay, now I need to find the relationship between rule A and rule B. So I can look here because my numbers aren't 0. So I have a 20 and a 40. And I have an 18 and a 38. And I have a 16 and a 36 and a 14 and a 34. So some of you who are really good with mental math could probably determine what the rule already is, looking at the relationship between these numbers. But if, let's say I can't visualize that. So when I'm looking at the number 20 and 40, again, I'm going to ask myself, how do I get from 20 up to the number 40, right? This is smaller. 20 is smaller than 40. So I know the big idea we've talked about is in order to make a number larger, I would need to either add or multiply, right? So let's start with addition. 20 plus what number would get me to 40? Oh, I know. It's 20 plus 20. So if I put plus 20 here, if I think that that's my rule, let's see if that holds true here. So 20 plus 20 is 40. If I were to take this 18 and add 20, 20 plus 18 is 38. Oh, there's my rule. I think that that's working. I'm going to try it one more time here. I'm going to add 20. 20 plus 16 is 36. There you go. There's my rule. Okay, so my rule here would be add 20 to rule A, right? There's my rule. Okay, so I would like for you, again for homework, I want you to fill in your missing numbers and to find the relationship between the corresponding terms or the rule, okay? So you're going to find the rule here, and then you're going to find the rule here. All right, so we're going to do one more type of problem, and that is number 4. You do not have a chart or a table as you do here, but it still says find the relationship between the corresponding terms in each rule. So I am going to use scratch paper. They're not giving me a lot of room here. So what I want to do is I want to create the table based on what it's giving me. Okay, so that's simple enough. So I'm going to create 2 rows. And I'm going to have my start up here, right? And then, I don't know, I probably only need 3 of these, right, in order to figure out what the relationship is. So rule A, and then I have rule B. Okay, so rule A says start with 47. Great. Oop, I should put the start here. So start with 47 for rule A. So A is start with 47. Now, after that, it says subtract 3. So I'm going to take 3 away from this number. So 47 minus 3. I'm going to use my finger. So from 47, 46, 45, 44. Okay, again, I'm going to subtract 3 from this number. So minus 3. 44, 43, 42, 41. Okay, so I have my 3 sets of numbers. I'm going to erase this just so I don't have too much information there. Okay, so for rule B, it says start with 59. So rule B, start with 59. That's my starting point. And it says subtract 3. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to subtract 3 from 59. So 59 minus 3 is 56. 56 minus 3 is 53. Okay, now my job here is to find the relationship, right, between each rule. So how are these rules related? Okay, so I'm going to look at rule A. So add or subtract or multiply or divide, whatever that's going to be, right? Ooh, I should not put add, I should put, right? I need to determine if it's add, subtract, multiply, or divide. How do I get from the number 47 to the number 59? Again, to make a smaller number bigger, I'm either adding or I'm multiplying. Okay, so let's start with adding. How do I get from 47 to 59? I can use my fingers and count up, or I can find the difference between these two numbers to come up with the difference, and that would be what I would add. So I'm going to do that way. So I'm going to come over here, 59. I'm going to take away the 47. 7 minus 9 is 2. 5 minus 4 is 1. 12. Okay, so from rule A, I need to add, I think, 12 to rule A. I think that is my relationship. Now, I'm going to do the same thing to see if this is true. Add 12 to rule A. So here's rule A, 44 plus 12. I'm going to do my addition over here. 44 plus 12. 4 plus 2 is 6. 4 plus 1 is 5. Ah, there we go. I'm going to do the same thing here just to make sure. 41. My rule would be to always add 12. 53. There you go. So my rule here would be to add 12 to rule A. All right. So my rule, add 12 to rule A. All right. So I would love for you for homework, this is your final problem, is to attempt problem number 5. You will need to use some scratch paper or write along the side somewhere if you have room. Please make sure you keep your table so you can refer back to it in class if you end up realizing that you've made an error. Okay, so that is it. So your homework is going to be problem number 5 on the practice page. And then on the reteach page, number 2 and number 3. I will see you guys tomorrow.